Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite topic in math, word questions. Yay! So, there's not really one way to say this is how you will always solve a word question, because word questions just depends on what section you're in, what it looks like, all that kind of stuff. And I am sure that even in the examples that you're going to see in your homework, I'm going to do something a little different than they do. And that's fine, everybody. It's just another example of for you to learn from. All right. So first of all, kind of look at this strategy in general. Read the question several times. Don't just read it once. I know I read it several times and then I read it again as I'm going through things. I always define my variables. A lot of times they'll tell you to use X if they want to see an equation. But honestly, I a lot of times will use, especially if they're not asking me for an equation to give the equation back, I'll always use letters that make sense to me. Then translate the information into an algebraic equation, inequality, or system. Go through each sentence and say, where are my key words? Where's is? What's more than? Is it sum? Is it difference? Is it the product of? Things like that. Those are, you have to just make sure that you're reading these word questions all the way through. Use algebra to solve the equation. Verify that your answer makes sense. Now, a lot of you might say, well, I have no idea if this makes sense. But sometimes if you go back and read the question, if you're like, let's say, finding distance or you're finding a time, if your answer is negative, then it doesn't really make sense. So that means that you should probably go back and look at maybe something else to do. Write your answer in the form of a complete sentence with appropriate labels. Just make sure that you label your answers. I'm going to go through and I'm going to label my answer. Make sure that my answer makes sense for what the question actually is asking me for. All right, so let's look at this first example. The equation V equals negative 2,000t plus 24,000 describes the value in dollars of a certain model of car after it is t years old. Find the age of the car if it is worth 18,000. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of go through here. First of all, I'm going to go here. Find the age of the car. That means that for me, I'm looking for T. What is T? What is my time? If I'm looking for age, I know that that's the time. Well, now I'm going to look in my equation, there's my T. So describes the value in dollars of a certain model of car. Okay, so it says it is worth 18,000. So going back and looking at this equation then, I realized that that 18,000 is going to represent the V, okay, because that's the value, the current value of the car, and you're looking for T. So here I'm going to go ahead and just label that as V, just right there on my paper as I'm going through. So now I can say 18,000 is equal to negative 2,000t plus 24,000. Now solve my equation. And again, I have to think, in the end, does my answer make sense? So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to say, just make sure it's all right there for me. I'm going to subtract 24,000 from both sides. So I probably should have written that first, but I knew what I was going to do. Minus 24,000. So now we get 2,000t. So 18,000 minus 24,000. So I get negative 6,000. Now I want to solve for that t. So in order to solve for t, I'm going to divide both sides by 2,000, negative 2,000. So I get t is then equal to 3. Is that something that makes sense? Yeah, that makes sense that the age of the car is 3 years old and it's worth $18,000. All right, let's look at example B. A train ticket in a certain city is $3. People who use the train also have the option of purchasing a frequent rider pass for $15.75 each month. With the pass, each ticket costs only $2.25. Determine the number of times in a month the train must be used so that the total monthly cost without the pass is the same as the totally monthly cost with the pass. So basically, when is the money even? Okay, so a train ticket in a certain city is $3. Determine the number of times. Okay, so determine the number of times. So T equals number of times on train. Okay. All right, so a train ticket in a certain city is $3. So that one is $3 per train ride. So that would be that I would have 3 times T. Now you want it to be the same thing or the same as it says, is the same as equals the totally monthly cost with the number of times you're using the pass. So your T is going to be the same thing. That's the number of times you're using the pass. How much is it each time you use it when you have the pass? Well, it's $2.25, but you paid this $15.75. You're not paying that $15.75 every time. It's a flat rate of $15.75. So $15.75 plus, then you have to pay $2.25 per train ride. So that's where it looks like you're saving money. But how many times, what's the minimum number of times that I would have to ride the train? So first thing I'm going to do is I see that I have T here and T here. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 225 T from both sides. So I get 0.75 T equals 15.75. Then I'm going to take 1575 and divide it by 0.75. And I get 21. So T is then equal to 21. So determine the number of times in a month the train must be used so that the total monthly cost without the pass is the same as the totally monthly cost with the pass. So I didn't do this for the first one, so I need to go back and do that too. So T, so number of train rides is 21. So that's my answer for example B. In example 1, I'm going to go ahead and say the car is 3 years old. Forgot to do that. So I need to make sure that I go back and do that. All right. Let's look at C. Find 3 consecutive even integers whose sum is 222. Okay, so with this particular question, we're looking for consecutive. First of all, means one right after the other. However, they're even integers. Well, let's just figure out what we have to do to represent even integers. So just get a couple examples, 2, 4, and 6. So if I wanted to represent the first number as 2, I would say, well, that would be x. Okay, but now I have to use x and represent 4. But remember that x is 2. So what would I have to do to represent 4? Well, it would be x plus 2. Now remember, x is 2. I need to turn around and I need to represent 6 when x is 2. So I would have x plus 4. So those are consecutive even integers. Now I can pick a different set and see if it still works for that representation. So let's say x is 10. Well, 10 plus 2 is 12, and 10 plus 4 is 14. Are those consecutive even integers? Yes. So x plus 2, and x plus 4 are going to represent consecutive even integers. Now I have whose sum is, that means I'm adding. And then my is equals. So I have x plus 2 plus x plus 4 equals 222. So now on the left side, I need to combine my like terms. 3x plus 6 equals 222. Subtract 6 from both sides. So I have 3x is equal to 216. Then divide both sides by 3. X is then equal to 72. All right, so now I need 3 consecutive even integers. So my first integer, 72. My next one, 74. And then the next one is going to be 76. So now let's check our answers. So you might have to like plug in your answers where it says the first integer is this, the second integer is that. So 72 plus 74 plus 76, and I get 222. All right, example D. There are 18 Cub Scouts in troop 645. The number of scouts is 3 more than 5 times the number of adult leaders. Find the number of adult leaders. So first thing I look at is find the number of adult leaders. Define what you are missing. Define that unknown. A equals number of adult leaders. Now it tells me that there's 18 Cub Scouts in the troop. So Cub Scouts equals 18. So it says the number of scouts, which is 18, is 3 more than 5 times the number of adult leaders. So the number of scouts. Well, I know what my number of scouts is. My number of scouts is 18. Then I have is. What does is represent in math? Equals. Yeah. 3 more, 3 plus 5 times the number of adult leaders. 5 times A. All right, so now let's solve. Subtract 3 from both sides. I have 15 is equal to 5 times A. Divide both sides by 5. A is then equal to 3. Does it make sense that there would be 3 adult leaders with 18 kids? Absolutely. So there are 3 adult leaders. Next page. So before we start doing these percentages questions, just a quick review of writing percentages as decimals and decimals as percentages. So my examples that I have here, 25% is 0.25. 115% is 1.15 as a decimal. 5%, so I'm moving my decimal to the left 2 places. So 5% is 0.05. And then looking at 6.5%. Well, first of all, you might want to rewrite that as 6.5%. And then say, okay, well, that as a decimal is 0.065. Now the other way, write the following decimals as percentages. So now I'm moving my decimal 2 places to the right. And then I have to make sure that I add the symbol. So 0.45 is going to be 45%. 0.8, 2 decimal places is going to be 80%. 1.5 is going to be 150%. And 0.0063 is going to be 0.63%. So that percent still has a decimal there. All right, so now let's look for these key words when we're doing these. Kind of the first couple are just, the first 3 of these are just simple percentage of. So E says find 16% of 90. So I need to change that 16% to a decimal, 0.16. And then when I see the word of, that's multiplication. So multiplying times 90. So what's 16% of 90? So 16% of 90 is going to be a smaller number. So that's one of the things that you should think of. So 16 times 90. So I get 14.4. My next question, F, says 80 is 20% of what number? So 20%, I'm going to go ahead and change that to my decimal. So I get 0.20. Then I have is right here. So that's my equal sign. And then of is my multiplication. So 80 is 0.20 of what number? X. So now to solve this, I'm going to divide both sides by 0.20. So I get X is equal to, so 80 divided by 0.2, and I get 400. So my number is 400. All right, 45 is what percent of 160? So 45 is my equal sign, what percent of, so I'm going to go ahead and change that symbol that I just did to a P. Of is multiplication, and then 160. So 160 times, and then here I have 45. So I see that I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 160. So I have P is equal to, so I have 0.28125. Now remember that that's my decimal and it's asking for a percent. So that means I would have to write it as a percentage. So my percentage is P is equal to 28.125%. So making sure you write it as a percent. All right, so let's move this over just a tad. Okay, get that back over. Nope. Put it here so we can have it all in the same. All right. A shirt is priced at $84. If the sales tax rate is 7%, what is the final cost of the shirt? So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can find the 7% and then add it back to the original price. A lot of times I take that tax rate and add that to 1. So my tax rate is 0.07, but I need the cost of the shirt too. So since I need the cost of the shirt, including that 7%, then I would take the price times the sale price plus 1, and I have to do this first. So I have to take that plus 1. I have to do that first, then I can multiply that to find what my total cost is. So I would take 84 and times that by 1.07. So let me show you. 84 times 1.07. And I get $89.88. So final cost is $89.88. So just kind of exploring this a little bit, so I put it right there. So just looking at this a little bit more, if I take 0.07 and times that by 84, I get $5.88, and then add to it the price, which that's my 1. So if you think about 1 times 84, that's going to be 84. So what am I doing now? I'm adding on that 84. So when I add that 84 to it, so I have to touch this and then say, no, here. There we go, plus 84. So I did my control copy, control C, and then control V is my paste. So you can use that here. So if I found the 7% and then I added it back to the 84, or you can just do 84 times 1.07. All right, let's look at this next example. See the whole thing. The final cost of a textbook is $158.60. If the sales tax rate is 7%, what was the original price of the textbook? So I'm going to do the same thing like I did in the previous one, since the sales tax is the same thing, 7%. I know that I would take the cost of the book, C equals cost of book, and I would take that cost and times it by 1.07 to get $158.60. So then how am I going to find the cost of the book? Well, I'm going to divide both sides by 1.07. So I get my cost is equal to, I have 158.6 divided by 1.07. All right, so, and that has to be the cost of a book. So when I'm rounding, I'm going to round to 2 decimal places here. So my cost is then $148.22. So the cost of the book is $148.22. All right, so these have numbers to them. The reason why these have numbers to them is they are found in the actual Stacks book, the intermediate algebra book that this is paired with, and that you see the book sections in the modules. So you can also look at the book for examples and look into the book for some guidance also. It's just another tool that you have. When Jairo and his coworkers had lunch at a restaurant near their work, the bill was $90.50. They want to leave 18% of the total bill as a tip. How much should the tip be? So they want to find then 18%. So they're leaving 18% of this $90.50. So 0.18 times $90.50. 0.18 times $90.50. So equals 16.29. So tip should be $16.29. So again, is that something that makes sense? Absolutely. We are leaving an 18% tip. Your bill was $90.50. So your tip is going to be, and think about it, $90.50, round up to 100. Well, if I'm going to find 18% of 100, well, that's $18. So it's less than that. So just kind of think about things like that. All right. Errol bought a skateboard helmet on sale at 40% off. The original price was $49.95. Find A, the amount of discount, and B, the sale price. All right, so it's 40% off. So the first thing that it's asking though is for the amount of discount. So my amount of discount, $49.95 times 40% off. So 40%, $49.95 times 0.40. So the discount is then $19.98. Now it says, what is the sale price going to be? So here I got that was $19.98. Well, since it's asking it for me this way, then I'm going to say, well, I'm going to take $49.95 and subtract $19.98. So $49.95 minus $19.98. So I get the sale price is then $29.97. So with something like this, your answers are probably going to be where you are filling in the blank with something like this. So $29.97. So talking about before, when we were finding what our sale price is, so we found the discount. We can also turn around and say, well, how much are we actually paying for? If our discount is 40%, how much are we actually paying? We're paying 60%. So if I take $49.95 and times that by 0.6, I get $29.97 because I'm looking at it the other way. I'm looking for how much I'm paying. You can find the 40% discount and then subtract it. Or you can say, well, I'm just paying 60% of the original cost, which is you subtract that. Basically, you're subtracting that 40% from that 100%, and that's where I got that 60% from. So that's just something to think about. Another way of finding that answer. All right, the last question here in our fun word questions. All right, let me move this over just a little bit. All right. Dimple gets paid $3,200 per month. She pays $960 for rent. What percent of her monthly bill goes to rent? So you're looking at how much rent does she pay? Well, I know she pays $960. That is her rent. You're looking for a percent, right? And then she gets $3,200 per month. So the 960 is equal to what percent of 3,200? So know that you have to set it up in that what equals percent of number. Okay, so now I need to divide both sides by 3,200. So remember, this is going to be a decimal though. So think about that it shouldn't be a number that's more than 1. Divided by 3,200. And I get 0.3. Don't forget to change that to a percentage. So Dimple pays 30% of her income to rent. Well, I hope this helps. Good luck on your homework. Have a great day.